Hey there, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Time to Draw with Mr. Shaw. Today we're going to be drawing another character from the TV show Teen Titans Go. She's also a member of the Teen Titans in the comics. Her name is Bumblebee. She's really cool. We're going to be drawing her, starting out with just some simple body shapes. And as we go along, we'll be adding details. If you get lost, if you get stuck, if I'm going too fast, feel free to pause the video and or if you need to rewind, try it again. Hopefully your pencil has an eraser. You'll see me fiddling around with my drawing as we go. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the shape of Bumblebee's head. And she has kind of a teardrop shaped head, like an upside down teardrop. So it's a little curved on the top. And then it comes to a point down near the bottom, kind of like this. Now it's not quite as exaggerated as a raindrop or a teardrop, but it's definitely very kind of round and curvy at the top and a little bit pointy down at the bottom. So once you have that shape in pretty well, we're going to go ahead and give her two really big eyes. Now when I do the shape of my eyes, I don't want it to be exactly a circle. I'm going to do a curved line up on top like this, and then another curved line down on the bottom like this. We could describe this as kind of an almond shape. It's a little bit like an oval with these pointy ends, kind of shaped like a football. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. Curved line on top, and then a curved line on the bottom. And I like to add a little triangle of some eyebrows here in the corners. So I'm going to color that in real quick. And then we can do the actual inside of her eyes. We'll give her a little bit of personality. I'm going to draw a big circle in the corner here. She's going to be looking up in this direction. And then I'm going to add a smaller white circle on this side. And then I'm going to color in the bigger portion of that. So the reason I left that little white circle there is if you look at yourself in the mirror at your own eyes, your eyes are kind of round and wet and shiny. And there's usually a little spot of white showing where the light in your room or whether you're outside is shining on your wet, slimy eyeball. So be sure to draw that. It does make our characters look a little bit more real and sometimes a little cuter. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to draw a little circle. She's going to be looking up in this direction, and then I'm going to put that shiny spot in kind of the same location over on this side, and then I'm going to color that in, and now it looks like she's kind of looking off to the side. I can give her two little eyebrows, little teeny ones. I'm going to give her an upturned nose. That means instead of drawing a lowercase letter U, having that nose go down, I'm going to do an upside down U, kind of make her nose perk up like that. And then I'm going to give her a nice long smile. Kind of like that. I'm going to put a little curve in the corner. Now, she looks kind of young right now. In the comics, Bumblebee is a teenager. We want to make her look a little bit older. So I'm going to fill in her lips. I'm going to do another curve at the bottom of her mouth here, and then a smaller curve at the top here. And seeing those fuller lips actually helps her look a little bit older, a little bit less like a baby. And then I'm going to start coloring in just kind of a shape for her hairline around the top of her head, and then a small bump of hair all the way around the outside of that. Going all the way around, we don't want her to be bald. I'm going to go ahead and put in her ears, just two curved lines, one on this side, one on this side. And then she has these two big poofs of hair. She's got them up in not quite ponytails, I'm not sure what those are called. I like to call them poofs. So I'm going to draw those two big circles, and I'm going to go ahead and color those in as well. Now, if you're planning to color your picture with crayons or colored pencils or markers or something later, you don't have to color this in with pencil. You can use whatever tool you want. I'm only going to be drawing mine with a pencil today, so I'm going to color it in with my pencil. Oh, another detail I remember from the cartoon and from the comic books is she usually wears these hoop earrings. So I'm just going to draw two circles, kind of stopping when they touch her ear. So there's one circle and then another curve like this. And if you have that little point kind of pushing into her ear here, it actually makes it look like they're pierced, and she has those earrings going right into her ears here. I also like to draw a little curve inside of the ears to show that wiggly squiggly part on the inside. So now we're going to start drawing her body. Now, Bumblebee is a flying character. She actually has a set of wings. She's kind of like a bumblebee. She can shrink as well. And I want to make her kind of floating in the air, flying on her little wings. So when I draw her neck, I'm going to have it come out to the side, just two little lines. She has a pretty skinny neck. And then I'm going to very lightly draw kind of a curved rectangle shape for her body. Now, in the Teen Titans Go cartoon, which is where I know her the most from, her head is pretty big and her body's kind of small. So I'm going to stick with that style. If yours doesn't look exactly like mine, or if you want to give her more realistic proportions, that means how big is her head compared to her body, you can draw that however you want. I'm going to make her body kind of small though, also because I'm starting to run out of room here. And I'm just going to draw a curved rectangle coming around like this. Now, the bottom of that is going to be her belt. She wears a wide yellow belt, so I'm going to draw a rectangle for that belt. And while I'm there, I'm going to draw two squares inside of each other, one square here and another one inside here to make it look like a belt buckle. And I'm going to draw a couple of little dots on the side, kind of like your real belt. If you were cinching it up, you'd have that little piece that goes into the hole, so you can draw that on her belt just to make it look a little bit more real. Now, her shirt, the top of her outfit, is striped like a bumblebee. So I'm going to start actually on her neck, and I'm just going to color black stripes coming all the way down her body. And I'm going to color those in while I go so I don't lose track of the pattern. I want it to go black, white, black, white. If you're planning on coloring her later, either with crayons or colored pencils or markers, these stripes are actually yellow. Most of her outfit is black and yellow, except for her wings, which are actually a light blue. And she does have brown skin. She's an African-American character, very popular black superhero, alongside Cyborg in the Teen Titans. So here's her body shape. She's looking pretty good so far. Now I'm going to block in her arms. Now, to draw her arms, she's not super muscular. She's very strong, but she doesn't have big bulging muscles. So I'm going to draw two pretty straight lines coming out from her shoulder. You want to make sure that arm's coming out from the top of the shoulder, just like your arms do. I'm going to go a little bit past her head, and then I'm going to have the bottom part of her arm, her forearm, coming up with two more fairly straight lines. And then I'm going to very lightly draw a circle for her fist. Now, one of the hard things about drawing a fist is getting the fingers right. So one thing I like to do, this is her left hand, is I'm actually going to ball my left hand into a fist and look at those shapes. I see kind of a curved shape for my thumb here. So on her hand, I'm going to draw that curved shape. It looks like her thumb, kind of curved around. And then I see 1, 2, 3, 4 ovals where my fingers would be. Now that first one's kind of covered up by my thumb, and the second one's covered up a little bit as well. So I'm going to draw that first oval, just the top half of it, and here's finger number 2 being blocked a little bit by the thumb, and then 3, 4, there's her pinky down here on the end, and then I'll just put a little bump for the bottom of her hand, and that's a pretty good fist. Remember, if you're not sure how to draw hands or fingers in whatever combination you want them to be in, use your own hand. Like, take a look at it and draw the shapes that you see. Now, Bumblebee also has some metal cuffs, on the top part of her arm here, so I'm going to draw just a rectangle covering up the forearm. It's kind of a little protection. Now I'm going to draw her other arm. I'm going to have that one coming back like this. So I'm going to draw two pretty straight lines coming back off her shoulder. Remember, start at the top of the shoulder. You don't want her arm coming out from her side or her hip. Then I'm going to draw two more straight-ish lines coming down this time. And then I'm going to draw her fist again, a very light circle. Now this time it's her right hand, and it's going to be facing away from us, so I don't really see a lot of my fingers. I do see little bumps coming up from my knuckles, maybe pieces of my finger. So I'm going to do that for her. I'm going to draw a little bump for the thumb, and then I'm going to draw 4 little bumps for the fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's a pretty good looking fist. I can even erase this line here. And then I'm going to draw that metal cuff that she has on her arm. If you're coloring Bumblebee later, those cuffs are yellow. They're kind of shiny. You can actually make them look shiny. I did it on this one over here, not even thinking of it, by kind of coloring a little squiggly black line down the edge. That gives it a little bit of a shine. And while you're coloring it, if you color the rest of that cuff yellow, but leave a little white spot on the edge, it'll actually make it look kind of metal and shiny. It's kind of a cool trick. If you ever look at something metal and shiny, it's kind of like your eyes. It reflects that light. So that's a neat trick for making something look kind of metal and shiny overall. So now we're going to block in her legs. I'm going to do that with two more like ovals this time. They're going to be a little curvier. And this will be the top part of her leg. So I'm going to draw a nice oval coming out like this, and that's going to be her thigh. And then there are different costume variations. That means different kinds of costumes she can wear. A lot of times I see her wearing golden boots, and I kind of like that look. So I'm going to draw a square here for the top of her boot, kind of like a knee guard, so she doesn't scuff up her knees while she's fighting bad guys. Then I'm going to have the bottom part of her leg coming back in this direction. So I'm going to draw almost like a triangle shape. I'm not quite going to connect it down here by the foot, coming out of that leg. I'm sorry, out of that knee. And now you can see that it's kind of bent. Now, since I want her to be flying, her feet don't have to be flat like she's standing on the ground. So I'm actually I'm gonna draw a little rectangle shape for her heel, and then I'm gonna point her toe pretty much straight down. And that's gonna make her look like she's kind of hovering above the ground because she's gonna be flying. And she could be flying way up high in the sky, or she could be just a little bit off the ground like I did here. Now the top part of her pants here would actually be black, so I'm gonna color that in really quickly with my pencil. And then these golden boots are actually kind of shiny like her cuffs here on her forearms. So if you want to add that little shiny black squiggly line, just a little bit here, maybe a little bit down on the foot, just to make it look kind of golden and shiny. And now I'm going to add her other leg. Now I don't want her other leg exactly in the same spot as her first leg. This back leg, I'm not going to see all of it. So I'm going to have it come up a little bit higher this time. And I'm still going to use this oval shape. So now her second leg is coming up like this. I can go ahead and color that in. I'm going to color it a little darker so that it looks like it's behind her other leg. I'm just pressing a little harder on my pencil to get a different value. Value is a word that we can use to talk about how light or dark something is. I want that back leg to be a little bit darker so it looks behind this front leg. And I'm actually going to do another trick to show that in just a second. So I'm going to draw that kind of squarish rectangle shape for her kneecap. Mine actually looks a little bit more like a quadrilateral, four-sided shape here. Not quite a square, not quite a rectangle. It might be a rhombus. Now when I do the second part of her leg, I'm going to have it come behind her first leg. I'm not going to be able to see all of it. It's going to overlap a little bit. And that's also going to help the viewer, the person who's looking at it, see that that leg is behind it. And I'm going to do the same thing with this foot. I'm going to draw a little heel, and then I'm going to have that triangle pointed down. I can do those little black wiggly lines to make it look kind of shiny. And now she's got two legs. She looks like she's either jumping or she's flying a little bit. If I want her to look like she's flying, I'm going to give her one set of wings, one wing on each side. And I'm just going to draw a nice big oval kind of coming out from her shoulder here. And then I'm going to draw lines coming up and then out to the side, and then up and out to the side. I want to draw starting up the middle and then kind of curving out to the edges. Now, if you've ever looked at an insect wing, like a bee or a fly, it's actually broken up into little sections like this. We want to avoid doing something like drawing a leaf where we do the line up the middle and then they're exactly the same on both sides. This one looks kind of like a leaf. This one looks more like a wing. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm just going to get these out of my picture. Ooh. And this time, this wing's going to be kind of tricky. It's going to be going through her arm, behind her head. So as I'm drawing this oval, anytime I hit a part of her body I've already drawn that's in front of the wing, I'm going to stop. I'm going to pretend to draw that line, and then I'm going to continue it out here from her ear. And then when I loop it back around, once I touch her hand, I have to stop and then bring that wing back. I'm going to pretend to draw it through her hand, but not actually draw it. And then I'm going to do that same thing with her wings. I'm going to draw a line up the middle, off to the side, a line up the middle, off to the side, a line up the middle, off to the side. Kind of a little pattern going all the way up her wing. It doesn't have to be the same on both sides. In fact, I don't want it to be symmetrical. That means it's the same on both sides. So break up those wings, just the same way maybe you'd see an insect wing. And now I have a really nice picture of Bumblebee. She looks like she's flying there. If you want her wings to look like they're moving, you could do these little motion lines on the sides of them. Now this is okay, and I could stop here. But one thing I like to do is sometimes I like to draw a setting, or maybe I like to draw some other details to make it look like a story. And one thing that I like about Bumblebee is she's a crime fighter. She's a superhero. So I'm going to draw maybe the end of a crime that she's stopped. So I'm very quickly just going to draw the bodies of some criminals down here. I'm going to give him a mask, a little black mask. I just drew a circle holes for his eyes, and a little circle hole for his mouth and his nose. And I can draw a little nose and a mouth. Maybe his eyes are closed. Bumblebee probably gave him well, let's say a lesson in not stealing so much. And then I can draw a bump for his body here, and I can have his arms spread out on the ground like he just got a pretty serious thumping. Maybe he's curled up into a little ball. Now this looks kind of bad right now, so I'm going to draw a little bit of the evidence. I'm going to draw some circles with little tufts at the top and some money signs to look like maybe this guy was robbing the bank and Bumblebee got there just in time to stop him from getting away. So I hope you enjoyed drawing Bumblebee. As always, if you're a Henry Johnson Charter School scholar, you want to snap a picture of this, send it to me on Class Dojo, and I'll add it to a video later on in the week. Or if you are not a member of the Henry Johnson community, but you'd like to see a picture, go ahead and leave a comment below. Tell me what you want to learn how to draw, and I'll draw it for you in one of the upcoming days. Everyone stay safe out there, wash your hands, and I'll see you next time.